welcome to episode 6. How
Holy
we doing?
bros.
How we doing?
We good,
Yeah.
my bro. So, I was thinking, what should we talk about today?
Okay.
We're gonna go to the book of Hadassah today.
That's in the Bible?
Hadassah. You don't know where it is, John? Hadassah?
Where?
How do you say Esther? Hadassah? How do you say?
I'm so cutting that out.
Hadassah.
I'm so cutting that
We're going
out.
to Esther.
Okay.
It's hard
Alright.
starting these things.
Yeah, I know.
It's
We
pretty
try and make it
difficult.
creative for you guys, but I think we're running out of juice.
We like Esther.
Yeah.
We were chosen for such a time as this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we forget where that verse comes from.
Esther.
Yeah, I know. It's a good verse.
Do you like Esther, John? The book of Esther?
Yeah, it's one of two books labeled after women.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? Other books aren't
I don't know.
labeled after women.
I don't
Like,
know.
why don't we have the book of Deborah?
Deborah? The book of Deborah? That'd be crazy. The book of Karen, bro.
The book of Karen?
Even Karen got saved.
Karen did not. Karen would give God a hard time.
Yeah, exactly. She'd be like, why this son?
Why you send Jesus?
Jesus, I'd like to speak to your father, please.
For real? Jesus, it doesn't concern you. You're like a big man. Like, jeez, man. Karen, she's not. No,
Man.
that was good.
Yeah.
That's just kind
That
of
worked. That worked.
Upload.
That worked. I'm kind of impressed with myself on that one, actually.
It just flows.
Yeah. So, alright, let's get into
Let's
it.
turn to the book of Hadassah.
No, Esther.
It's right after Nehemiah.
Yeah.
In the continuation of books no one reads.
And then, well, what's after Esther? We talked about this book for a little bit.
Job.
Yep,
Woo!
exactly. Yeah.
I had to do it in my head.
Mm-hmm. You got there.
I had to do it in my head.
Let
So
me
I
think.
remember.
Go ahead. Go, pal.
I remember that I had to learn the books of the Bible. You remember that too. In the legendary Mr.
Yeah.
Hahn's class.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Judges, Deuteronomy. I messed it up. It's okay.
Genesis,
I promise I'm a
Exodus.
Christian.
Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st Kings, 2nd Kings, 1st Chronicles, 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther,
Okay.
Job, Psalm,
Okay, calm
Proverbs.
down. Calm down. It's
Ecclesiastes,
getting filled with the Spirit right now.
Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah.
Okay. All right. Let's get locked in right now. Let's lock
have
in.
that mountaintop mentality.
Mountaintop mentality.
Part
Agreed.
2.
Part 2.
John, you want to read?
I'll just go over before we start like the importance of the Book of Esther. Like,
What is it?
It teaches, at least when I look at the Book of Esther, and you could get something different, which would be good. I was just gonna say like the different interpretations that people can have. Like personally, when I see the Book of Esther, I see like this book bothers me in some ways actually, because it's like I wish like it was like a New Testament book where it would just be like tell you what you need to know and then apply it. But like sometimes with the Old Testament books, you kind of have to read into it a little bit and follow the story and then pick out after the story what God's doing. Because like Esther's actually the only book in the Bible where God's not mentioned, the name of God, but you can obviously see his work. You know?
Right. That's why it's so interesting. That's why we're talking about it.
It kind of
today.
bothers me a little bit because I like to be direct.
Direct, huh? You like to hear the name of God.
Yeah.
Direct your Bible.
Yeah.
Verse,
Why do
scriptures.
you not?
No, I do. It's cool. I think it's refreshing.
It's good. It's a good book. Like,
The Book of Esther is.
and I think it relates a lot to us today because like it doesn't feel like a very spiritual book, but actually it is. You know,
Right.
Because God's working through it. So like if your life doesn't feel super spiritual right now, God's still working through it.
Right. It's kind of like a testimony. In the way I see it is like when you're going through, because it's following right Esther and Mordecai.
Yeah.
I've heard people say
I remember in
Mordecai.
VeggieTales it was like a little P. Mordecai was a P. and
We
he
can't
just-
keep doing these
Sorry.
VeggieTales flashbacks.
That's my whole childhood.
But I know that like it's just basically following her throughout her life, and I don't know if she sees it, but it's like God was throughout
Yeah.
the whole thing, and now we see it as we read it, and hopefully you can see that God's working even when you
right.
see it.
And I think in the book of Esther we can see the sovereignty of God and how, you know, he's always in control, you know,
right.
and when he's in control, nothing that he wouldn't want happens. Nothing catches God by surprise. But then also, in some senses, God sets boundaries for himself to where he doesn't impose on our free will.
Right.
So, like, sovereignty in this book is kind of like apparent and something we can see. And then also with that is like, as we unite our lives to God's call and how sovereign he is, we can benefit from that as well. So like, you know, when you start being connected with God and what he has for your life, you know, whatever comes is going to be from him, and right. he's going to bring you through it. You know, mm-hmm. you can see that with Esther. It's like he placed her in a position to be able to do this. So, right. But let's get into it.
This is like the Girls Gone Bible, Holy Bros thing. So we're reading the Girl Boss book today, Esther.
Girl Boss book.
Girl Boss book. That's what we'll call it. Not Hadassah. Hadassah.
Why don't you get started?
I got you.
There's a lot of big names in here that I will not be pronouncing.
Right. So the king, his name, so in different translations, but the one that you have most likely, his name is Ahasuerus.
King A.
We'll call him. Some translations have him as King Xerxes, which is easier to say. All right, so we'll get in.
But actually, you know what? We can skip to chapter 2. I'll just give a brief summary of what happened in chapter 1. What happens is King A is like, you know, his people didn't ship him and his wife no more. So he was like, "God, get rid of you. You know, no more wife." You know.
The Gen Z.
This is a brief translation of what actually happened. So he gets rid of his wife.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember why. Why did he get rid of his wife?
So basically, this guy, King A, has a big party all throughout Shushan. Shushan.
Okay.
He has a big party, and it's like going on for days, man. And he's ordering everyone. He's like, you know, bring all the wine, all the food. It's just this long festival.
Sound like my weekends.
John, what? You have long festivals now?
Sure, go for it.
I've never been invited.
My bad. Shouldn't have brought that up.
He has this long festival, and eventually he gets so drunk that he says, you know, I want to show off like men do. Very competitive, and he says, I got the bestest wife in all the land, and I
then gets rid of her.
I want her to come and dance in front of all these men to show off her beauty. I don't know what that.
Yeah, it was a little sus.
I don't know
Bible
how. Yeah, I think I'm assuming this was some sort of seductive dance, whatever. So the queen, her name is Queen Vashti, and she hears the word, like the servants go, and they're like, hey, like King A wants you to do this for him, and she's like, nah.
Max, don't trip on your
He's
values.
like, nah, and King A gets the word, and he's like, nah, this is crazy. Like she really disrespected me in front of the whole nation. So he goes with his boys, his closest friends, right? The king's cabinet.
Yeah.
And they're like, bro, like, you gotta nip this right now, bro. Like, if everyone sees Queen Vashti,
Ghoster.
If everyone sees Queen Vashti doing this to you, then all the women in the land are gonna think they can do this to their husbands. And so he has to get her out.
Yeah. Do you think exiling was that form of ghosting in
he ghosted her. Yep, he didn't call her back.
No.
He didn't call her back.
Well, probably couldn't.
I'm happy she didn't die though. That kind of.
Well, I think she's exiled, so.
Like,
anyways, so like what happened before this is like Israel gets exiled to Babylon, and then you know from there, you know we see how this king wants to start cutting some of the Israelites and the Judeo culture out. You know?
Right.
So let's get started.
We're gonna go to chapter 2.
Where do you want to start? Where should we start?
Hey,
this is your episode.
Okay,
so
fine. You know what? Let's go. Okay.
You wanted the boss girl episode.
The girl boss chapter. So yeah, let's pick up in verse 2. So a little thing, because we're gonna be skipping around. It's a pretty long book, so I'll read important things or what we're gonna apply. But so the beginning starts with King A, and he says that he's kind of cooled down.
Yep.
And he remembered what
he
Vashti
took
did.
a quick time out. You know?
He took a quick time out.
After my wife's gone, we're good.
And he said, I gotta get a new queen, basically. So he sends out a decree. He says, all the young ladies, get ready. It's like The Bachelor.
The Bachelor in the Bible.
The Bachelor in the
Can't believe
Bible.
you just made that connection.
It's
The
Bachelor. This is my episode. Okay. So after these things, when the wrath of King A subsided, he remembered Vashti, what she had done, and what had been decreed against her. The king's servants who attended him said, let beautiful young women be sought for the king, and let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, and they may gather all the beautiful young women to Shushan, the citadel, into the women's quarters under the custody of Haggai, the king's eunuch, custodian of the women, and let beauty preparations be given to them. Then let the young women who please the king, instead of Queen Vashti, be queen. The king was pleased, and he did so. In Shushan, the citadel, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite. Kish had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captives who had been captured with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away. And Mordecai had brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother. The young woman was lovely and beautiful. When her father and mother died, Mordecai took her as his own daughter. So it was, when the king's command and decree were heard, and when many young women were gathered at Shushan the citadel, under the custody of Haggai, Esther was also taken to the king's palace into the care of him. Now the young woman pleased him, and she obtained his favor, so he gave her beauty preparations for her, besides her allowance. Then 7 choice maidservants were provided for her from the king's palace, and he moved her and her maidservants to the best place in the house of the women. Now Esther had not revealed her people or her family.
Right.
So, as we see right here, and just in the basic thing is, like I said, the beauty contest is going on, and Esther is just living in the land, and she gets wrapped up in it. Not her choice, not her decision, whatever.
Because they're exiled there,
right?
Too. Like that's not their normal homeland.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, like, she lost her parents. Like,
right. She's an orphan.
That's kind of crazy. For some of us today, that's enough to quit.
Mm-hmm.
It's enough to quit on life.
Right.
But sometimes God's got better plans on the other side of it.
Oh yeah, and I'd just like to point out, the beginning, just you can already see like God's blessed her, and she really hasn't done anything yet. She's just living in the land, and God gives her favor with Haggai. So it's like she gets there, and I guess there's something about her that gives her favor, and she gets more than all the other women who are participating in the beauty contest. So and then also Esther's a Jew, and she doesn't reveal this because she's scared that she's in a
because they were basically under persecution then. Well, not really persecution, but like discrimination then, kind of, because they were in the foreign land.
Right. So pick it up in verse 10. Esther had not revealed her people or her family, for Mordecai had charged her not to reveal it. And every day Mordecai paced in front of the court of the women's quarters to learn of Esther's welfare and what was happening to her. Each young woman's turn came to go to King A after she had completed 12 months' preparation according to the regulations for the women. She was brought to him. And in the evening she went, and in the morning she returned to the second house of the women, to the custody of Shagaz, the king's eunuch, who kept the concubines. She would go to the king again she would not go to the king unless the king delighted in her and called her by name. Now when it came turn for Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her as his daughter to go to the king, she requested nothing but what Haggai the eunuch, the custodian of the women, advised. And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all who saw her. So Esther was taken to King A, into his royal palace in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth. In the 7th year of his reign, the king loved Esther more than all the other women. She obtained grace and favor in the sight more than all the women. So he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. So, more favor. On top of it all, right? So, already she's gotten favor with the head eunuch. And, she's been preparing. They're preparing for a beauty contest for a long time. It's like, a couple months, right? Months to just do one thing, and that's just to, be
right, yeah.
looked at.
So you can see the favor there already.
Right. So you see the favor, and so we're gonna skip down. So the King A, has his right hand man, and his name is Haman. Now Haman, is I don't know what. So, he's an Agite. Yeah. Which is basically an enemy against Israel. So right. Agites do not like Israelites one bit. So it's now weird because
but then the king promoted him after Mordecai saved the king's life.
Right.
So have that context that Mordecai saved the king, and then the king goes and finds he needs somebody to be his right hand man, and instead of promoting Mordecai, promotes this other guy who's the complete enemy of Mordecai, who helped save the king.
Right. So, like we said, Mordecai is also very nervous for Esther. Obviously, he's pacing outside the doors, and eventually he hears people. One of them, his name is Bigtha, which is funny. Bigtha and Teresh. And
that sounds like a club boss, stays outside the club. He's like, "Name, sir, my name's Bigtha." Bigtha.
So Bigtha was trying to do the king dirty, bro. Mordecai hears it. He tells, and Haman gets promoted for it. How many times do you do the right thing and someone else gets the credit? But Mordecai kept the right heart.
But then also, it was the king's word to bow down to Haman, and Mordecai didn't. How many times do we gotta not bow? To certain things that everyone else tells us we should do.
Right. No, I get that. So basically, Haman hates Jews and he hates Mordecai. Right. So against this, Haman ends up setting a decree with King A. For a day where it's open season on all the Jews in the region. So everyone kind of hears this, and they're like, well, this is crazy. And Mordecai's scared. Imagine, the decree is, I get to kill John tomorrow.
Why are you smiling so much?
No, sorry. It's just a cool episode.
It's okay.
To do.
He's just upset he's not invited to that big feast that the king is having.
I don't know. I just love talking about women's success. that's why I love this book. But anyway.
That's kind of weird, Gabe.
All right, let's pick it up in chapter 4. When Mordecai learned all that had happened, he tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes. So in the Old Testament, when they're sad, they're drama queens.
Yeah. You just gotta go stop at TJ Maxx or store and pick up some new clothes, and they're like, "Oh, rough week."
Why can't you just say I'm sad? Why can't you just sit down?
Because they didn't use their words then.
John, is this gonna show you that I'm sad? Okay, whatever. But and he went out into the midst of the city. He cried out with a loud and bitter cry. He went as far as the front of the king's gate, for no one might enter the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province where the king's command and decree arrived, there was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting, weeping, and wailing. And many lay in sackcloth and ashes. Verse 4. So Esther's maids and eunuchs came and told her, and the queen was deeply distressed. When she sent garments to clothe Mordecai and take his sackcloth away from him, he would not accept them. Then Esther called Thatch, one of the king's eunuchs, whom he had appointed to attend her, and she gave him a command concerning Mordecai, to learn what and why this was. So he went out to Mordecai in the city square, and this was the front of the king's gate. And Mordecai told him all that had happened, and the sum of money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasuries to destroy the Jews. He also gave him a copy of the written decree to destroy the Jews, which was given at Shushan, that he might show it to Esther and explain it to her, and he might command her to go to the king to make supplication to him and plead before him for her people. So Hatshepsut had returned and told Esther the words of Mordecai. So, again, Mordecai, upset guy, drama queen, but...
Had to buy her some new clothes.
So Esther sent him a care package of Nike and Adidas.
It's a nice drip.
Right. And
Firm
he's like,
rip.
he's
Drip
like, nah.
Rip.
He's like, I already got these Jordans. I don't need them. No, he's...
Okay.
No, okay.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm too Gen Z for this. He says, no, I don't need it. And he's upset. Mind you, all the Jews are supposed to be killed. No one knows that Esther is a Jew.
Yeah.
And so now, with hearing all of this, Esther is distressed because Mordecai is upset that they're all gonna die. And bang.
That's okay. All right, so let's try and wrap it up kind of fast. All right.
Okay, gotcha.
So King is basically like, all right, I want to bless Mordecai because he saved my life. So, but then who he tells us to do is Haman, who's like his biggest opponent. So he's like, what? I'm not doing that for him. This guy won't like give me any respect.
Yeah.
And so then what do we get from here?
From respect. Oh yeah. So he says this. Haman's like, oh cool, I'm gonna be glorified, and he's like, okay, Haman, go out and parade Mordecai around the city.
Yeah.
And Haman's like, dang it.
Yep.
So that whole thing happens. Yada yada yada. Afterward, they go to the banquet again. Mordecai's mad. Has these gallows made. He's gonna kill Mordecai somehow. He's gonna figure it out. He goes to the banquet, and Esther is there, and she's like, finally, she coughs up the request, and she says, your dude Haman is like, he's trying to kill me.
Yeah.
And he's trying to kill all my people, and he's really whack. And the king's like, I didn't know this was happening. So upset, he kills Haman on the gallows that Haman made to kill Mordecai on. Now, after this, Esther's like, oh, thank you.
Reverse Uno card.
Right. And the king's like, well, don't thank me yet because I made that decree and I can't take anything back. So the Jews, people are gonna attack you guys. So he makes another decree that's sealed, and he says the Jews can fight back and they will be blessed, and he backs the Jews basically on that day.
Right.
So, like it says, the day comes and the Jews end up destroying their tormentors, and they end up more blessed, and the king says they can keep all the things they accumulate from the people. And then Mordecai is lifted up to Haman's place, and that's a big summary of it, and God is not mentioned once.
Yeah,
but
you can see how he worked, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that's awesome because God's going to position you to work for him too. So,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
that was a great episode.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, guys, I mean, it's kind of crazy week. It's a big kind of thing. I mean, just God's working, even when you don't see him, and even when he's not given the credit, because God doesn't need the credit. God is working for us, and I don't know what you're going through. I doubt you're gonna be killed on a certain day, but you know,
Doubt you're gonna have to go up in the court. Something's gonna drop on you, and
you might
die.
be going to court. But
that court, huh?
But
the b-ball court.
Just know that
Maybe that's where your biggest stop is, on the court.
Why would my biggest stop be in the court, dude?
That's not what I'm saying. Don't take it like that. That's not what I'm saying.
But I guess we say all that to basically say that God's fighting for you, even when you don't see it. And
he's with you on the court, you know? He's gonna help you make those threes.
Right? And looking back, you know, when it's all said and done, I'm sure Mordecai And Esther could see that, God was working. And even though they never gave the big G to credit. Yeah. But it made it to the Bible, so it's important. Mm-hmm. Take your time to read it.
Yeah. Because if God didn't do this here, would have taken a lot longer for Jesus to come around.
Mm-hmm. So it all flows together.
God's got something for you. Step out.
Do it. Thank you, Esther, for doing what no one else was doing.
Yeah.
Do what no one else is doing, as far as for Jesus.
Yeah. Step out on the court.
Step out on the court. Lace up them shoes. Tell John's never played basketball before.
I'm white. I haven't.
John, you're Larry Bird.
I'm Troy Bolton.
Troy Bolton.
I'm not singing.
Troy Bolton. But let's wrap it up, man. So big summary. Esther's great. Be like Esther. And
God's sovereign, and whatever He wants to come to pass, it will. So hopefully you want to be a part of that, and then with that, you're going to be blessed, and right. He'll back you with whatever He needs you to do.
Mm-hmm. So. Whatever God's put you to do it, but also expect that God has a calling for you inside that. God put her in the place of royalty so that she could step out and save her people. So be mindful of that. Thank you for watching on this journey. We love talking to you guys and preparing every week. So if you can, read the book of Esther. Help us out. And if you like what we're doing, just please support, share it with your friends, your family. And if you want any topics done, let us know. It's good us bouncing back on things, but we would love to hear from you guys. And we'll see you later, my holy homies.